Hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Not long to go. Not long to go, everyone. Ooh. Who's everyone's money on? Who do you reckon? Get your votes in the chats, in the poll at the moment. Oh, I tell you what, it's neck and neck. It's neck and neck between Leclerc, Hamilton, and Antonelli, not far behind. Very close, guys. Very close. Fair enough. Fair enough. I still think it's going to be the two Ferraris on the front row. I do. Don't think it's going to be... I don't know. I'm not sure about Mercedes' pace. I still think what they showed in that second half, in that FP3 session, is properly what we'll see. I was trying to do... thumbnail for... Oh, I'll have to do it afterwards. I'll have to do it afterwards. Yes, John, good to see you, mate. Good to see you. I went for a little nap. Thank God the missus is here because she woke me up. I slept through my alarm. Thank you. I'm not wearing Ferrari gear, no. I mean, we've already had the Haas gear have some sort of curse because Ollie Behrman crashed in FP3. But, yeah, we are staying away from wearing the Ferrari merch today. Can I show the point standings? I can show them shortly. It is a 43-point gap between George Russell and Kimi Antonelli at the moment. So, yes, they are... There's a large gap there over a race win. Nearly 2 race wins difference between Kimi Antonelli and George Russell. So, big moment in, of course, well, every race now is a big moment in the championship. On that unfortunate DNF that George picked up, no fault of his own, from Canada. And it looks like they're not the fastest car here. Yes, they're the fastest car in FP3, but I think there's a lot to go. A lot of circumstance behind why Antonelli was the fastest there over everyone else. He was faster than the two Ferraris by 3 tenths, over 3 tenths, and then everyone else didn't really get a lap in. So, what is the gap between Russell and Leclerc in the championship? Let me have 2 checks on that. So the gap at the moment is only 13 points between Charles and George. 3 points between Lewis and Charles as well. And then Lando is 30 points back of George because he also had a DNF, didn't he, in Canada. Wear Mercedes gear tomorrow. I do have a Mercedes top. If they get pole position, I'll wear a Mercedes top tomorrow. Surely we can't have Mercedes win another race, right? Surely. Come on. Spread the love, guys. Let another team have an opportunity. Lando wasn't the defending champion. He is the defending champion. He is currently the defending champion. You as a CGF sub-agent at times, so you know how hard your job can be. Rally driving was my escape. Petronas gear tomorrow. I will wear the Mercedes top tomorrow if they get on pole position. And look, there's still a potential. There's still a potential. But I think from what we saw earlier, Kimi did a 12.7, didn't he? So I think the 12.7 is not the time we'll see for pole position. I think we'll probably see it low 12s. Don't think we'll get into the 11s, but I could be wrong. So I still think there's plenty in hand for everyone. And I think Ferrari are, yes, still the team to beat here. Any chances of Williams Q3? Doesn't look like it from what we've seen from practice. Audi seem to be best of the rest. They're the ones who have been in... They've had 2 cars in the top 10 for every practice session thus far. So Audi look like they have an opportunity, and Hulkenberg has the opportunity for the first time this season to actually get into the Q3. Because he is the nearly man at the moment. He has qualified 11th and finished 11th a good damn few times at the start of this season. We could see a 1:11 lap time, maybe. I mean, we did look at the times earlier, or the pattern from last year at least anyway, where the cars got pole position was a second quicker than the fastest time we saw in practice. I suspect that's probably the same here as well. And that's not influenced by battery and so forth, because the battery doesn't have to be worried. They don't have to worry about recharging and so forth. Overtake mode, of course, isn't something they can utilise in qualifying. They'll be in the race tomorrow only. I'm hoping that will have an effect, because it means it will provide us with some actual overtakes, mainly and hopefully down into the Nivelle chicane out of the tunnel. But qualifying, yep, they are definitely going to be... Yeah, obviously some like it better than others, but they're definitely going to be more on the limit. That is for sure. Monaco is the most last forgiving track. Most drivers have to keep 4 wheels on a track, apart from a couple of other places. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this, but Monaco, I think, has to a certain degree lost some of its specialty, that special feeling. That it is because of old street circuit, keeping it close to the walls and so forth. Because there are other street circuits that we have been to throughout the years now, and we have a lot of street circuits on the calendar. Singapore is a track that I think has, unfortunately, yes, diluted that special feeling of Monaco, because it is just a longer version of it. And now everyone just realises, okay, yeah, Singapore isn't great either. We get very, very rare overtaking at Singapore. But for some reason, Singapore gets more of a buy than Monaco. I'm not quite sure why. But if I was to keep one of the 2 tracks on the calendar, it would be Monaco over Singapore, purely because of the history of Monaco. But because of the addition of Monaco and other street circuits, that is why we have, unfortunately, Monaco has become less special. Increase sound. It might be you, Rajat, who needs to increase your sounds. Oh, John, thank you for coming ahead, engineer, by the way, buddy. Much appreciated. Yes, guys, if you can join the pit crew, if you so wish. Let me see. Can I got anything? I can send 5 gifted subs now. There you go. I've got 3 subs to give, or 3 memberships from YouTube. I'll give another 5 tomorrow. So if you've been fortunate enough to get a gifted sub there from myself, it is totally random. Welcome to the pit crew, guys. As a qualifying track, it's good with the blind corners through tight turns and hilltops, but races suffer sadly. Yeah, they always have done. As we said, this track has never had a whole host of overtakes. And, of course, at the front, only one... Well, we have to go all the way back to 1996, 30 years ago, when someone last won the race from outside of the top 4. So it is not a track where you win the race from outside the front 2 rows, because it is so difficult to overtake. You're never going to see someone make up 5-6 positions on this track unless there is like a big crash or something, or multiple crashes and DNFs, which, look, this year we could get a very, very unique Monaco this year, because we've seen so many DNFs. So there could be some mechanical failures. Of course, we don't want to see the race decided by mechanical failures, just like we didn't want to see it last time around in Canada. So hopefully that's not the case, but there is always that possibility. Adelaide was a great track and had fantastic racing. Yeah, I wonder if Adelaide would be suitable for current F1, though, I guess. Maybe that's why we haven't gone back. I mean, the reason we haven't gone back is because we go to Albert Park each year, don't we? But I wonder if it'd be suitable now. What race will Ferrari bring its next upgrade? Barcelona, supposedly. Barcelona next week is Barcelona, and that's where a lot of teams target a big update package. So I expect Mercedes to be strong there again, of course, because it'll be back to normal with the whole battery usage and straight mode zones, etc. Oh, thank you, CJ. My pleasure. Yeah, welcome. Well, welcome, everyone. Hope you are well. We're just waiting for the live data. You heard Grimsby as the car park was on the table for a street circuit. Listen, if Asda put forward the money, I'm sure F1 will consider it. Do I think they could add a race anywhere else in the UK? I don't know. I think Silverstone is the only circuit that could handle modern F1. If you look at all the other race circuits in the UK, they're just too small. They're not wide enough. They're not really long enough, I'd say, as well, and they don't have the safety, the necessary safety measures in place for Formula One. So Brands Hatch isn't suitable for Formula One anymore. Just the speeds, of course, the cars travel at. So yeah, I don't think there's anywhere else in the UK that we could go to. I think Africa has a track ready for F1. Yeah, it'd probably be in South Africa, I think. We've got Kialami, has always been up for discussion. I don't know if that will ever happen, though, to be honest with you. I think it sounds like that there's funding issues that F1 isn't too keen on, or the promoters and the government or something can't guarantee the money. So that's always kind of it's on their radar. And then you've got the talk about, I think, a track being built in Rwanda. You've got to talk about a track being built, a Tilke track being built in, I think, Johannesburg, I think it was. Or maybe it was Cape Town. I think it was... No, Cape Town is Johannesburg, isn't it? So, which was part kind of temporary, part street circuit, which I hope is not the case. I think we need to go back to more... I think we need to stay at purpose-built circuits. Like, come on. Let's not go... There's enough purpose-built circuits out there in the world rather than going back, like having another street circuit. Afternoon, Carl. Good to see you. Afternoon, everyone who is here. Welcome, welcome. See you all tuning in from across the world. We're just waiting for the live data. We are T-minus. Where is my session start counter? There we go. We are T-minus 15 minutes, 10 seconds until green light for Q1. Q1 is going to be very interesting. 22 cars on this Monaco circuit is going to be pandemonium. Pandemonium. So, yeah, I suspect there'll be some impeding penalties, unfortunately. And this is the worst circuit to receive a grid place penalty because you'll receive, depending on the circumstance, I think it's normally 3 or 5. 3 or 5, and they will. That's like a death sentence, isn't it, for your race in Formula One? In Formula One here at Monaco, is it the logistics issues for Kialami? Yeah, I know, but there's concerns. That's why it hasn't been announced any sooner. I think the last year it was, or when the last time it was pushed back, Kialami was because they couldn't secure the funding. From South Korea Lab, good to see you. Quali at 2 a.m. Credit to anyone who is waking up down under or on the other side of the world for this qualifying. But you are tuning in for the most important qualifying of the year, so it's a good one. It's a good one. Best independent commentary right here. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. 30 million bucks to host an F1 event. I mean, that's the going rate, but I think it's even more. Now, these days, if you want more, if you want to add yourself to the calendar now, you need to be putting forward 50 mil. What Saudi does, it's what Azerbaijan does, it's what a lot of the Middle Eastern countries do. Justin, you're a big lurker for the F1 Watchalongs. Hope you're well and keep up the word. Thank you. Just that friend. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, and I know there's a lot of you guys who do just obviously tune in. I know that you don't necessarily get involved in the chat, and that's absolutely fine. I do that on some live streams as well. I know exactly how it is. But if you appreciate these live streams and you've been enjoying these watch-alongs, if you're new here, if you've been watching for just a long time or just recently just joined, thank you for choosing myself. And you'll be here for the remainder of the season. As I said, unfortunately, I won't be around for FP1 or 2 next time around at Barcelona, because the day job, unfortunately, is getting in the way. So, yeah, that's unfortunately, this doesn't pay the bills just enough yet. So we'll have to miss those sessions. But I will be live for FP3 and qualifying in the race on Sunday. So we won't be missing any important races this year. That is for sure. Risk of rain for qualifying is 0%. Nil point. And yeah, if you are enjoying these streams, guys, and you've realised, oh, I'm not subscribed. Why? Why are you not subscribed? Hit that subscribe button. Trying to hit 100,000 before the end of the season. Last year, it ruined Hamilton's race, getting that grid place penalty. It did indeed. He really did indeed, yeah. Have been watching since 24, genuinely enjoying these streams more than if the main coverage. Well, that's what we try and do. Look, we try and provide a bit of a different approach, or just do our own thing, really. I'm just myself, ultimately. And we've provided a place to chat and discuss F1. So, yeah, be sure to stick around a little bit afterwards, because we will take in everything that has happened in this qualifying session and, of course, on the race on Sunday, because it's going to be an interesting one. Could we see some big scalps here? Could we see some drama? Remember, like, this red flags and so forth is going to get in the way of potential laps. We've seen some shenanigans here at Monaco in the past when it comes to qualifying, with how important it is. So remember that. Am I going to be watching the World Cup? Of course I am. Come on, England. It's coming home. Yeah, I'll be watching the World Cup. I love an international tournament. I don't like the qualifiers. The international qualifiers are a bit boring, but the World Cup, the Euros, yeah, love it. Is it the last time Barcelona circuit will be used for F1 this year? It will be, yes, for now. For the meantime, Madrid will be taking over Madrid will be taking over as the Spanish Grand Prix after this year, I believe. Which is a shame, because Barcelona is a purpose-built track, whereas the Madrid circuit, I don't like the Madrid circuit. I mean, I've just looked at it. I've looked at some simulation laps on it. I mean, I thought the same when I saw Vegas, so I will reserve judgment somewhat. But I'm not exactly enamoured by the Madrid circuit. We will see. We will see. But first impressions aren't great. Hey, Jarvis, good to see you, mates. What is my favourite circuit? Silverstone. I do love Silverstone. I love racing it in the simulator, and I think the circuit itself just lends to great racing. And we always, especially being in the UK as well, there's always a risk of rain, which has provided us many a dramatic race. And I just think it's a track that always provides. Red Bull Ring is up there as well. I've come to love that track more and more and more over the years. Wasn't too fussed by it when it first came on the calendar, but I think that also provides the nature of. I mean, we'll see how it fares in these regulations, but with the DRS, when we had DRS, it was one of the few tracks where, because you had 3 DRS zones and because it was a short enough circuit, you really had to have significant pace to be able to break out of the DRS, and it always provided us, it allowed slower cars to have an opportunity at battling cars who are quicker than them, and I think that's why the Red Bull Ring has always provided some good battles in the years. So we'll see. We'll see whether that's the case for these regs. Of course, same thing with Silverstone. But I think their tracks for hopefully will still provide. Where's the cat? She's asleep on the sofa right now. You remember, Harold, you was in England once without rain. Yeah. We had a whole week of nice weather last week. And then this week it went, right, that's all you get. Thunderstorms galore now. The logistics are terrible in Barcelona, that's why it's gone to Madrid. But are the logistics going to be any better in Madrid as well? Because it's still pretty central, isn't it? What do I think of the Red Bull dog wing? What, in the winglets that they have on the back? I think, as we spoke in FP3, it's very good to see the ingenuity of the F1 engineers and designers and that. They're always looking for performance, aren't they? Antonelli for Paul. Well, get your votes in. Get your votes in, guys. If you are just tuning in, welcome. Hit that like button. We're only at 187 likes and there's 1,000 of you in here already for qualifying. 29% of you is neck and neck between the two Ferrari drivers, and I tend to agree. I think it will be between the two Ferraris. I know Antonelli topped FP3, but I still don't think that they have the overall pace on the Ferraris. But there's a potential that Antonelli or Russell in that Mercedes could maybe qualify P3, where Verstappen was preoccupying that in practice yesterday. But we will see. Not long to go. Of course, going to be interesting. These drivers, they will have the pace, enough pace just to get through Q1 and Q2 without doing anything too special. Track evolution, not particularly key here at Monaco. It's not like you're going to go dramatically quicker the later you stay out. What will benefit them, though, is that I think you will see probably multiple laps on the same set of tyres. We've seen that tyre temperatures can be an issue this season, and I think that's what we're going to see here in Monaco. So we may see drivers having to do two laps, 2 out laps, and that's going to make things a bit tricky here at Monaco, because of course the you don't want to be out there any longer than you need to be, because you could pick up an impeding penalty with 22 cars out on track this season. Your prediction is Kimi takes pole, but it's going to be a good weekend for Ferrari. I mean, a good weekend for Ferrari is a win, to be honest with you. I think anything less than that is not a good weekend for them. It might sound harsh, but I think this is their own realistic... This is their best opportunity for a win this season. So, yeah. Anything but pole position and a win is going to be not good enough, really. I don't think they should change the Monaco circuit a bit just to make it more competitive during the race so the drivers can actually overtake. Well, there has been discussions, and no doubt there'll be the same discussions tomorrow after the race has ended, about moving that chicane further down. So I think there's been discussions about basically removing this chicane, and the chicane comes here, because you need a hard braking zone still. That's the thing. You can't just have this be... One, you can't have it be full throttle all the way up to here and then a dab of the brakes. That just won't give any opportunity for proper overtakes. Also, there's not enough room here for the drivers to be carrying too much speed. But there have been discussions about removing the Nivelle chicane and moving it further up here to give them more of a run. And I think that's really the only viable option that is possible at Monaco, because that run out of turn 8 to turn 10 just... There's not enough now. There's not enough of a slipstream. It doesn't seem like there's enough of an opportunity. Do I think Russell got overconfident with the initial season win, or initial win at the start of the season? No, I don't think so. No, I think, look, Russell was going to claw back a whole host of points at Canada, and unfortunately, he's lost 25 points instead. So a big swing for him, and he has had he's been on the wrong side of the safety car as well when it came to Suzuka. He had a mechanical issues in qualifying in China, so it hasn't been plain sailing for George Russell by any means. That's not to take anything away from Kimi Antonelli, but it hasn't been plain sailing for him, and Kimi has been on the right side of things. And he's had the car underneath him. He's been able to capitalise on his teammates' misfortunes. And that's all you can do sometimes. And that's why Kimi now has the advantage that he has. And it's well-deserved. But for George, yeah, it sucks, really. But I'm sure there'll be some bad luck that comes Kimi's way. Maybe they won't, but I'm sure they probably will at some point, whether he gets caught up in an incident or something, or whether he ends up on the wrong side of a safety car, or there's a mechanical failure for him. But just because you have a mechanical failure doesn't mean that you can't turn that around, as we saw Lando do exactly the same after Zandvoort last year. And he's got more races to turn that deficit around compared to Lando, who had less. So, right, guys, here we go. Qualifying about to get underway. 3 minutes. I'm going to take a quick lube break to make sure that we are ready for the next hour ahead of us. The most important qualifying of the year is right around the corner. Back in a jiffy. Here we go. Track temp very high. Yes, track temp very high. Full concern getting these tyres up to temperature. We'll probably see some lockups. We'll probably see some yellow flags. And that means that we'll probably see some laps, unfortunately, affected. Because if there is a yellow flag, a yellow zone, it means you have to slow down. If you do not slow down and you keep your foot planted, you will receive a penalty. So there have, of course, been some dubious decisions in the past with drivers locking up and causing yellow flags, which has caused their competitors to lift off and not be able to get through to the next session, and in some instances, not be able to get pole position. Most famously, Michael Schumacher has done it. I think Fernando Alonso has done it, and Nico Rosberg has done it famously as well. And then, of course, you could just be Sergio Perez and just dump your foot on the throttle and spin the car and bring out a red flag also, which can cause your teammates, even though there will be the timer remaining on the session will be paused, but that can also cause, of course, an interruption of your lap time. So, right, here we go. A green light, pit exit open. Qualifying is underway here at Monaco. We have 18 minutes here of this Q1 session. The Cadillac's wasting no time whatsoever. And this is going to be a very, very interesting qualifying session, guys. Very busy. 22 cars, 2 more cars on track than last year. And, well, while they might be slightly smaller, slightly narrower, slightly shorter, they are still very big F1 cars, and well, it's very difficult for them sometimes to get out of the way. We saw Ollie Behrman crash earlier after George Russell got out of the way, and he ended up bottoming out as his car was off of the racing line on the marbles, and he ended up in the barrier, causing severe damage to that Haas car. But thankfully, the team had enough time to be able to get that in good nick, and Ollie Behrman has driven out of the pit lane, and he is participating in Q1. So fair play to the Haas pit crew for being able to get that Haas back together. But here we go. It could be very, very interesting. Perez will be doing the first lap. It's interesting to see if they'll do multiple out-lap series, we mentioned. So, yeah, the multiple laps for potentially the warming up of the tyres. We saw that earlier on in practice. Will they be able to be afforded that opportunity here in qualifying? We will see. I think every lap matters here at this circuit, because you just never know when a yellow flag is going to come out. That's the problem. You just never know when a yellow flag is going to be waved, and then your lap time is going to be interrupted. But we'll keep an eye on those lap times. Sergio Perez in the Cadillac, he's definitely been the best performing Cadillac driver. Of course, rumours in the 2 weeks since we had the Canadian Grand Prix in Monaco that Bottas was going to be replaced as early as this weekend, and that Cadillac was seriously assessing his seat. I mean, no doubt they're probably not happy with his performance, even though they are languishing at the bottom of the field. It's still too early to really do that to Valtteri Bottas. I think that would be unfair. But the question also is who would go in? Who would go into Valtteri Bottas' seat? I don't think they have any drivers who have enough super license points to be able to do that. So, but Perez doing a very good job, and he sets the fastest first sector, understandably. But that's been swiftly taken away by Esteban Ocon. So we'll not have a look at sector times just at this moment, with drivers doing their first laps. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton making their way round, as does George Russell and Antonelli. And we have all 22 cars. Well, we have 21 cars out on track. The only driver that isn't out on track at the moment is Max Verstappen. So we have 21 cars out on circuit as Sergio Perez rounds the last corner and will be the first driver to set a lap time here in Q1. He comes across the line with a 20.2. So that is clearly a second warm-up lap for Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez. They were 21s and a 20-second time, so they are doing two out laps, and they're probably going to be on a push lap now. We should get a good idea. Yes, as Sergio Perez does a 20.4 in that first sector, and Lando Norris, well, he's wasting no time. He is already on a push lap, Lando Norris, with a 20.2 in the first sector. Bit of traffic ahead of him in Isaac Hadjar, as Hamilton reports Charles is backing into me, so Lewis wasn't too particularly happy with Charles there. They're also doing a second push lap, or at least Lewis has done a second push lap, it seems, with a 21.2. Not too happy, maybe, with the gap that he had in front of him. But you can see there, purple sector times being traded left, right, and centre. Ollie Behrman fastest until his teammate, who is somewhat of a Monaco specialist here, comes through. But Sergio Perez will be Lando Norris actually is back there. He's done a 36.8 in the middle sector, so he's backed off Lando. Did go quick in the first sector. But Sergio Perez here, let's see. This could be more of a representative time for Sergio. Remember, the bottom six cars, go out, not bottom seven. Apologies. As it's a 116.7 for Valtteri Bottas. So much better improvement, but that's going to be some way off, I imagine, for him to be able to get out of Q1, as is Valtteri Bottas' time of a 117.1. Liam Lawson, first driver to go sub 20 seconds in the first sector, as Charles Leclerc slots into P3 with what looks to be just a simple banker lap. It's not really a banker lap, as it must have been a second out lap for him, as Behrman does a 1:15.936. That's a bit more like it from Ollie Behrman. 8 tenths quicker than Sergio Perez's time, and Lando Norris does a 19.6 in the first sector. Ocon slots in behind his teammate, 7 tenths down on his teammate there, so not sure what happened to Esteban Ocon after he had a much quicker first sector as well, as Lindblad slots in between the two Haases up into P2. Going to be lots of chopping and changing of position here. All 22 cars out on track right now. Max Verstappen was the last car we was waiting for, as Lawson heads to the top of the timer screens with a 1:15.4. Remember, the fastest time we've seen here today has been a 1:12.7 by Kimi Antonelli earlier on, as Charles Leclerc goes fastest in the first sector. Lando goes fastest in the middle sector until Charles crosses that middle sector line and makes his way through the swimming pool section and into the last sector, into Rasgas here. Charles Leclerc, the home favourite. Will he be able to get pole position here? Finished second last year. The year before that, he won his first ever race at Monaco, as Lando does the 1:14.295, 1.1 seconds ahead of Lawson. There we go. Charles Leclerc fastest, well, 1:14.1, but some way off, of course, the fastest lap and probably the eventual pole position time lap. As Hadjar, oh my goodness, Hadjar really shouting on the radio, feeling the pressure as Hamilton slots into P4. Wow, Hadjar not happy on the radio, complaining about that was the worst prep lap ever. Of course, crashed yesterday, feeling under pressure to perform, and, well, we'll see if he's going to be able to keep that Red Bull clean as Antonelli slots into P3 just ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Now, really, for the top teams here, the guys we expect to be fighting for pole position, your Ferraris, your McLarens, your Mercedes, your Red Bulls, they are just trying to get a decent enough lap in to get through Q1 and Q2 without incident. That is all they're aiming for, and they should be comfortably be able to do that with the performance advantage that they have over the rest of the field. But that's a great couple of lap times there from Bortoleto and Hulkenberg in the Audi, who have been the best performing midfield team this weekend. Every single session they have finished in the top 10. Let's hope they can do the same because, yes, in particular, Hulkenberg, he deserves a Q3 performance finally for this season after qualifying 11th, I think 6 out of the 8 qualifying sessions we've had. Verstappen, all eyes on the Dutchman at the bottom. He's coming through a very busy circuit as he goes for the Mirabeau hairpin there. The slowest corner on the F1 calendar is turn 6 there, the hairpin, where they have their sometimes one hand off of the steering wheel, full lock in a Formula 1 car, and he has done the fastest first sector Verstappen, and he will be making his way down into the Nivelle chicane. Second sector line is just at turn 12, as they make their way towards the swimming pool section, which has caught a few drivers out here this weekend. The inside curb on the entry to turn 13 has thrown a few drivers off as Max goes green in the middle sector. So not quite purple for him as he's reaching some traffic as they move out of the way. We can see Leclerc goes purple again in the first sector, a green first sector for Norris as well. Lewis Hamilton, I think, is not pushing at the moment. Lewis Hamilton not pushing at the moment as Verstappen slots into P5. Oscar Piastri has had a bit of in his first attempt was interrupted somewhat, but he's gone green in the first sector also, so a good first sector from Oscar Piastri, and he has a bit of clean air ahead of him, which he will love to see, which is a very rare occurrence here at Monaco in Q1 and Q2. But welcome everyone, hope you are well. We are halfway through this Q1 session as Lando Norris takes the fastest lap away from Charles Leclerc with a 13.7, but I presume with Charles purple in the first, purple in the second, not quite purple in the last, but enough to go 4 attempts quicker than Norris in the overall, a 13.399, and I do suspect that'll be comfortable enough for Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris to get through here. Lewis Hamilton is looking to, he's still on an out lap here as Hadjar moved up into P6, so watching Oscar Piastri, he's currently in P9, and he puts himself up to P3. So other than George Russell a bit of risk here. He's currently in 16th, and he's had to bail out of a lap, George Russell, so George is, I say currently at risk. He definitely needs to get a push lap in. We currently have Bottas, Albon, Stroll, Perez, Alonso and Colapinto in the drop zone. But George Russell did put a green first sector on the board, and then his second sector, he's had to bail out. So I'm not entirely sure what has happened there. But a very busy circuit. And well, George is now in that drop zone as Alex Albon moves up into P15. By the way, Alex Albon being showed up by Carlos Sainz once again as Carlos Sainz is up in P10 and Albon is only 15th. 1.2 seconds separates the two Williams drivers. But George Russell, all eyes on him because he is 17th and he needs to go for another push lap. So let's keep an eye on George Russell as he makes his way past Arvid Lindblad here. He has the engine, he has the pace underneath him. He just needs a clean lap by the looks of it. So let's see how he fares right down into that first sector. So that first sector, 19.682. It's not quick from George. It's only 10th fastest in that first sector. So not as comfortable as his teammate. And could his teammate be out-qualifying him again here as Behrman moves up into P10? So there's Alonso, Stroll, Perez and Bottas are in the pits, or the two Aston Martins have just come out of the pit lane. As Hamilton does the fastest middle sector out of anyone there through the swimming pool section, a 34.6 for Lewis Hamilton. Bit slow, bit down on pace in the first sector, Charles is the fastest at the moment by quite some margin, by a tenth over Kimi Antonelli. As Verstappen moves up into P4. But George Russell is green in the first and second sector. He is going to be improved here. But by how much is he going to improve? Because that middle sector isn't quick at all. And he's half a second off of, you can see there, Antonelli and Lewis Hamilton's time around that. And George Russell only goes into P10. What is up with George Russell? Is he just out on track at the wrong time? Can he not just get a clean enough lap in? You do suspect that that is comfortable for George Russell to get through, though. But it is not good. It's not a good start to this qualifying session for George Russell, as he's only been able to get into P10, and is currently 9 tenths off of his teammate's time, and 1.5 seconds off, or 1.4 seconds really, 1.4 seconds off of Charles Leclerc in P1, and it's only Q1. But of course, I'm sure he will be able to dig deep. So watching a replay of George of what happened. Oh no, it's Kimi Antonelli. What happened to Kimi Antonelli? Did he touch the wall here as he went into turn 13? Oh my goodness, Kimi Antonelli. Ooh-wee. Kimi Antonelli had a big moment through, and George Russell had a moment as well. So that, wow. So the Mercedes not looking too good on the rear at the moment. Kimi Antonelli had a big moment. The rear stepped out on him through turn 12, and that could have been Kimi Antonelli's qualifying over and done with there. And George Russell, well, the rear of his car massively stepped out on him, under braking down into turn 5. So the Mercedes not quite looking comfortable on the rear end, it seems. So we'll keep an eye on that throughout this qualifying session. But we have just under 6 minutes remaining, or just over 5.5 minutes remaining here of Q1. Is Leclerc at the top of your timing screens, but we'll see for how long, as Lando Norris is also improving here, as Antonelli goes fastest in the first sector, but Leclerc goes fastest in the middle sector there. So improvements occurring here on the same set of soft compound tyres. Drivers doing lap after lap after lap. As Colapinto moves up into P14 and moves his teammate down into the drop zone. So it's currently Albon, Gasly, Alonso, Perez, Stroll, and Bottas at risk of dropping out here of Q1 and not making it through. Liam Lawson and David Imblad very close there as well. Only a couple of attempts quicker than Alex Albon. So they are definitely at risk. Isaac Hadjar moves into the pit lane now. So what can Fernando Alonso do? He's not too happy here this weekend, as Charles Leclerc did improve again there with that purple middle sector, even though the first and last sector were not an improvement of 13.293 for him. Lando Norris also improved, but still just over 3 attempts back from Charles Leclerc. Lewis, Antonelli. Oh, look at that. Antonelli up into P2. And Verstappen up into P2. Wow. Shaping up well for qualifying for Q3 later on. All of a sudden, Lewis Hamilton was P3 and now he's in P5. But of course, these drivers are just trying to make their way through into Q2 without incidents. Let's have a look down below. There are some green sectors across the board here late on, as we are 4 minutes away from Q1 and the checkered flag being thrown. So that was a great lap time by Arvid Lindblad. Moved himself up into P9, so a significant improvement for him, as Lawson's also improving as well, as George Russell improves up into P7, so that should be nice and comfortable for him. But Liam Lawson, green in the first, it's green in a second. There's green sectors as well also for Fernando Alonso, as Lawson moves himself up into P9. So big gains here at the end. Alex Albon now on a flyer. He needs a big lap, as he's currently 17th in that last drop zone position. Colapinto, as Alonso moves up into P17, a great improvement from him, Alonso, but not enough to get himself out of the drop zone. The bottom 6 are eliminated from Q1, remember, with 22 cars now on track. 6 cars in Q1, 6 cars in Q2, and then only 10 make it through into Q3. Let's see, Albon, a green first sector for him, a green first sector for Colapinto, a green first sector for Gasly in the first and second sector as well. So Gasly, who has been out-qualified by Colapinto the last few races, needs a good qualifying here to try and get himself into Q2. Ocon moves up into P12, so that's a good one for him. He looks to be comfortable, as Alonso is currently in 17th. He was saying he was in 17th, as Gasly puts in a tremendous lap and moves up into P9 from P19. 10 places gained there for him. Hulkenberg moves up into P6, so there's still some pace out there on these tyres. Leclerc goes purple in the first sector again, sending it Charles Leclerc. There's no need for him to do that right now, as he is comfortably through, but he's still out there nonetheless. As Alex Albon, what a lap from Albon, up into P9 with a yellow flag, as Gabriel Bortoleto and Audi has is potentially off here. Oh no, Audi, who are having a brilliant weekend. Bottas moves up into P19. It's Carlos Sainz and Behrman, who are now currently in the drop zone. And well, the question will be, is this yellow flag going to be removed anytime soon? Because we only have 2 minutes remaining of Q1. Has he crashed? I don't suspect he's crashed. And there's a red flag! There's a red flag! And Gabriel Bortoleto, has he crashed? I'm still waiting to see whether he's crashed, whether his car's in a safe place or not. Is it the usual turn in too early into the Neville chicane and break that front left suspension? It's exactly that. It's exactly that, I believe, as I think Gabriel Bortoleto is undoubtedly in the barrier. Has he just turned into... He's broken the front suspension. Yes, it's exactly that for Gabriel Bortoleto. He's turned in too early and broken that front suspension on that very, very tight inside corner or inside barrier of turn 10. We saw Hadjar do it last year. We saw Antonelli do it last year. We have seen Hadjar do something similar like he did earlier in Miami as well, and just watching it now to see how it occurred for Bortoleto. Oh yeah, it's just done it. It's so slight, but it's enough. These suspensions are fragile. They are fragile, and he just, yeah, gone. So we have a red flag. 2 minutes remaining. 2 minutes remaining of this Q1 session. Who is going to get out there and have enough time to be able to set another lap? You do suspect that the teams in the top 10, well, say the teams in the top 10, will they go again? I think George Russell may go again and Oscar Piastri may go again. Who can improve significantly there? Well, I think, really, there's a lot of improvement. I mean, that was a great lap time from Sergio Perez, but not enough to get him out of the drop zone, by the way. P17, a 14.747 for Perez. What a lap that was. Behrman was also improving in that first sector. Sainz improved in the first sector. So Sainz is going to have to go again. Behrman. Everyone down from, I think, Alex Albon, maybe even George Russell, are going to have to go again. Because I think is there enough improvement? I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure if there is enough improvement out there, even on a brand new set of tyres, because they have to get them up to temperature. And will they have enough time to get those tyres up to temperature and go for a push lap? Maybe, but it's going to be interesting for sure. Can't see much improvement happening with only one warm-up. Like, that's my suspicion as well, Mike. That's my suspicion as well. But you never know. Welcome, everyone, though. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button if you... well, hit the like button, regardless, if you're new here or not. But, yeah, welcome. Hope you are enjoying it. If you're not a Drive to Survive fan, who finished P2? So, Q1 will resume at 22 minutes past 4 local time. So, you're talking just over 2 minutes' time. So, not just over 2 minutes' time, just over 3 minutes' time. Sorry, I'm going to end the poll, by the way. I always forget to end the poll for poll. And, well, 32% of you think Charles Leclerc, 27% of you think Hamilton, 21% of you think either Norris, Verstappen or Russell, and 20% of you think Antonelli. Interesting. Some changes there at the end of that poll being open, because it was looking like Antonelli was going to be your favourite at some point, but it has changed. What is up with Norris's radio there? So, let's see who is going to have enough time to get out there. There's 2 minutes 11 remaining on the clock. The likes of, I think everyone from Piastri is safe. I would suspect even Russell is safe. There is only one place now, really. Well, Bortoleto could still get through, by the way. Bortoleto, even though he is out of Q1, he could still make it through to Q2 with that crash. But it's a shame for Audi, because now that's one car that at least is not going to be qualifying in the top 10. And Audi really did look like they were going to be comfortable of qualifying into Q3 and starting in that top 10. So it's now all on Hülkenberg, and he needs to make sure that he doesn't turn in too early and break that suspension. But it's interesting, isn't it? But I feel like we went years and years and years without seeing that front suspension be broken in such a way. And then we've seen it 3-4 times in the last 2 years, with, of course, mainly the addition of the new rookies. Antonelli, Hadjar, now Bortoleto. We saw Carlos Sainz, I think, did something akin in, I think, Miami last year it was as well. But particularly here at the Nivelle chicane into turn 10, we've seen that 3 times now in the last 2 years, and all from the rookies. So, yeah, we went years and years without seeing that. What do I think is the biggest issue with the Aston car now that they have had some time to try and fix early season issues? I thought Honda engines were so good. What is it? It's something that they just can't overturn instantly. There's still, I think it's not as simple as just fixing the engine. Of course, there's massive improvements that need to be made, but it's everything around the engine as well. So it all kind of works in tandem, because Alonso and Stroll were still sitting there saying this car isn't great to drive. It's not like they're sitting there going, yeah, this is a car that feels great to drive, but we're just down on significant power. No, they are saying that the car is horrible to handle as well. So it's not just a case of them being down on power, it's everything else that comes with it. And the problem is as well is that it's not like everyone else is staying stagnant with their development. Everyone is improving at the same time. So they have to catch up, but they have to catch up to a continuously moving train. So it's a big effort from the Aston Martin team to even get to scoring points by the end of the season. It's not to say that they can't do it, but this season is already a write-off for them. What is my name? I'm the commentator, and I'm great. Oh, thank you. Scott, or call me Stuffey. Scott or Stuffey. Scott's my real name now. Right, here we go. Red flag has ended. We have green light, pit exit open again for one last time here at Q1. And it seems that really everyone's been able to make it through with that incident, unless your name is Gabriel Bortoleto, who did bring out that red flag by breaking his suspension in turning in too early into the Nivelle chicane, which is turn 10. The third time we've seen that in the last 2 years, all from rookies as well. So let's see who is going to go out of Q1 and not make it through to Q2. Currently, it is Stroll, Alonso, Bottas, Sainz, Behrman, and Perez occupying those 6 positions, which will be dropping out of Q1 and not making it through to Q2. Bortoleto with a time that is a 1:14.6, 1.39 seconds behind Charles Leclerc's fastest time. He is currently around 2 tenths quicker there. No, sorry, he is currently half a tenth actually ahead of Perez, who is in the drop zone. So he could still make it through here, Gabriel Bortoleto, even though he has crashed out of Q1. He could still make it into Q2. But do the drivers have enough time to get temp into those tyres? It's going to be interesting. We only have 45 seconds until they have to start the line. So they have one attempt here. These drivers, oh, that's a great time to have an update for a camera, isn't it? Pop up on my screen. But they are only going to have one attempt here to see if they will be able to make it out of Q1. Behrman and Ocon definitely at risk. Ocon is just above the drop zone in 16th. Behrman in the drop zone. It'll be great if he could get through to Q2 after crashing in FP3. What a nice present that would be for his engineers. Fernando Alonso is going to be able to cross the line. Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon are just going to... Oh, Sainz just gets across the line here. He's at risk as well, and he makes it through, as does Alex Albon. So let's see. Arvid Lindblad won't have enough time, so he is P15. He is definitely at risk here. Arvid Lindblad in P15. Let's see. So, all eyes on the Cadillac drivers. Perez doesn't improve in that first sector. He's over 20 seconds. His second sector is yellow as well. Bottas is the only driver at the moment who is green on the board. Behrman slower. Sainz slower. But his middle sector isn't any quicker either. A yellow in the middle sector. And it does seem like, really, that these drivers who are at risk, who needed a lap here, just needed one extra lap to get these tyres at least up to some sort of operating temperature. Lance Stroll hasn't even bothered. He's decided to just stay in the pits. The less time that he has to drive that Aston Martin, the better, no doubt, is probably what he's is going through his mind as Gasly pits. But Behrman coming around the last corner here as Sainz does go green in the middle sector. He's the only driver out there who, other than Bottas, who had a green sector at all. So Carlos Sainz, can he get himself out of the drop zone? He only needs a 1/10.5 improvement improvement. Let's see. Carlos Sainz rounds the last corner, so Bearman is definitely out, as he did improve there. Bearman, but not enough, as Sainz does improve. What a lap from Carlos Sainz. That pushes Arvid Lindblad down into P16, but importantly, he survives. But it's Esteban Ocon who drops into the drop zone there, and we have lost both Haases from this qualifying session. So we have lost Esteban Ocon in 17th, Sergio Perez in 18th, Ollie Bearman in 19th, Bottas 20th, Alonso 21st, and Stroll 22nd from Q1. Arvid Lindblad makes it through to Q2, even though he wasn't able to get across the line in time and set one final push lap. Bortoletto, who crashed and brought out that untimely red flag for these drivers. He is through to Q2. He'll be starting 16th tomorrow, as he will not be participating in Q2 with that front broken suspension. There we go. There we go. What a lap from Carlos Sainz and the two Williams. Comfortably through there. Only had a green middle sector, Carlos Sainz, and that was very, very comfortable for him. So, yeah, Ocon, Perez, Bearman, Bottas, Alonso, and Stroll are your drivers who have failed to make it out of Q1. Where can you see your remaining time? So if you have a look at the top left-hand corner of your screen, you can see there that there is a timer. So that is the timer, and you'll be able to see how many seconds and minutes are remaining of the session. There we go. There we go. So improvements to be had by George Russell, I think, there, really. We know that as the track becomes less congested, as it will do in Q2 and understandably in Q3, the lap times are going to decrease. We're still some way off of the fastest lap, so I think we will see in Q3. But for those top teams, it's just about making it through. Isaac Hadjar struggling here, understandably. Probably confidence hit quite, somewhat after what happens. After what happened with his crash in Q1, no doubt that probably, Q1, FP1, so that probably lingers throughout the course of the weekend, but we'll see. Q2 will start when? Q2 will start, it says, 32 minutes past the hour, so you are looking at 5 minutes time. 5 minutes time. Ferrari get a 1-2 in both quali and race. You'll delete your engine in power. Well, it's a possibility if they qualify on the front row. If they qualify on the front row, we'll see. Can Hamilton do it? Can Hamilton do it? Because his qualifying performance hasn't been particularly great, is it? So he has the race. He has arguably the fastest car underneath him, but can he do it when it matters? Sector times? Of course you can. Let's have a look at the sector times. Not too relevant right now with Q1, but we've just had. But Charles fastest in the first and second sector, with Lando fastest in the last. Hamilton was second fastest in the second sector. So look at that. Charles Leclerc, some margin quicker than everyone else in the middle sector, by the way. 2 tenths pretty much over his teammate, who is second fastest in the middle sector. So, yeah. I mean, that can kind of come down to the fact of having traffic and so forth. Maybe he had, just not to take anything away from Charles, but maybe he just had a much quicker, or clearer middle sector time. And then of course, no point in looking at the... Where's George Russell's last sector time, by the way? 12th. So his last sector time's not particularly great, is it? Look at that. George Russell, 6 tenths off of Leclerc's fastest sector time. What happens if for some reason they can't have a full Q1, Q2, Q3? Obviously Q1 can't happen, then Q2, Q3 into consequential. So how does grid positions to the race happen? I think, so if they can't do qualifying, I think they said they line up in championship order. I think that's in the reg somewhere. Quali is the only part of this weekend worth watching. How they finish today will be how the procession finishes tomorrow. Well, look, yes, we all know Monaco. I think we should all head into tomorrow's race with very, very low expectations. Have them as low as you possibly can for an F1 race. And then if we receive any sort of racing at all, you'll be obviously very pleasantly surprised. Max Verstappen, oh, Jesus. Blame the mechanics. They're idiots. What's Max complaining about? Max being very harsh on the radio about mechanics there on the radio messages. Interesting. But I'm holding I have a little bit of hope. I know. What? I have hope for a race at Monaco. Yes, I do. I have a little bit of hope. There's a sliver of hope because I think the overtake mode may be the factor tomorrow. The overtake mode may provide us some racing tomorrow. Because DRS we've seen has proven to be terrible and just not really work at all over the years. But because overtake mode can be used down like anywhere you want on the track, they can actually use it through the tunnel. So that's what I'm hoping for. Are Williams bring anything new to Monaco? I don't think anything, not really. I don't think any team targets anything at Monaco. Max is done being polite, yeah. But I have low expectations for races. I think you rightly should. We've been coming to Monaco for many a year, and we know the type of racing that we get there. But these cars are lighter. They are slightly smaller. We do have the benefit of overtake mode now, so that should provide us with hopefully an opportunity for some racing, even if there's side-by-side action. Just some side-by-side action, even if it's like a comfortable defence into certain corners. Just give us the opportunity of cars going side-by-side, which is something that we never get at Monaco. Right, here we go, though. Here we go. So, incident involving Carlos Sainz unsafe release. Oh, dear. That won't be very good for Carlos Sainz because that could be a penalty for him. Right, here we go. Green light, pit exit open for Q2. Here we go. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and choosing my stream for this watch-along and for qualifying for Monaco. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Of course, if you're new here, we'll be back for the race tomorrow. It will be live an hour before the race gets underway. So have a look at all of the strategy options and what to expect in Monaco, weather, etc. Pit stop lost time, because the pit stops are going to be the most important part of Monaco, as they always are. And yeah, join us. Stay tuned after this session ends as well, because we'll take in everything that we've just seen in qualifying and have a talk about that. Would Michael Schumacher be racing if he didn't have his unfortunate accident? No, he's too old for that now. How old is Michael Schumacher now? He's in his 50s. Is he 50 now, Michael? I think he's in his 50s now. So, yeah, no, he wouldn't be racing now. Can Max get pole? Ah, Max was complaining about the Williams mechanics. So that's what the unsafe release was for. They released Carlos Sainz into the path of Max Verstappen. So that's what those comments were for Max Verstappen there about those mechanics. And that's why Sainz is also being investigated for an unsafe release. No faults for Sainz. That's the Williams mechanics, but yeah. Right, so there's a few drivers I think that are up for pole position, but firstly, we still have to get Q2 out of the way and done with. They need to get through to Q3 first. Yes, they might be in some very quick cars, and all they need is some just banker laps in, and they should have enough pace to get through the top 4 teams, but that's not always the case, as we have seen in qualifying. George Russell only just in the top 10 after Q1. Will he be able to comfortably get through? We will see. Remember, we are looking for really first sector times that are sub 20 seconds. That is what you are looking for. So anyone not doing sub 20 seconds right now is on an out lap. So that's what you need to keep an eye out for. Pit stop can change race results. Ask Charles, Valtteri, Perez, or Kimi Raikkonen, or Daniel Ricciardo as well. If you remember, Daniel Ricciardo was... his mechanics weren't even waiting for him when he came into the pits, if you remember. And that lost him that all-important race win a few years ago. Monaco's like a fashion show instead of racing. That's why Kim K's there. Kim K's there to support her new partner, which is Lewis Hamilton. Right, so who's potentially at risk here? So we already have one driver confirmed to not make it out of Q2. That's Gabriel Bortoleto after he crashed in Q1. So he will not be participating in Q2 for that reason. So we only have 5 spots up for grabs here. So drivers know that it is kind of like the good old days, like last year and the good old days, where only 5 cars will go out in Q2. Right, Pierre Gasly at the top of your screens there with a 20.2. It's going to be interesting because I think there's an opportunity for every driver really to get through I do suspect Nico Hulkenberg in the Audi has a lot to get through, as Charles Leclerc does the fastest first sector with a 19.7, sub 20 seconds. As we said, that's what you need to keep an eye out for. No further investigation for Sainz's unsafe release. Wow. Interesting that. I think that was an unsafe release, to be honest with you. But there we go. The stewards have ruled differently. So, Charles Leclerc, fastest in the middle sector at 35.1. Max Verstappen with a 19.2 in the first sector. Max Verstappen putting his foot down there. That's a good sector time for Max Verstappen, the Dutchman. Charles, so that first sector time taken away. That's half a second quicker from Max Verstappen in that first sector. Charles Leclerc, not particularly quick by his standards, a 1:18.8. So, yes, that's definitely a second outlap, or he's bowed out of a lap there, it seems. But Max Verstappen will keep an eye on him as he's about to cross the second sector time now as he makes his way into turn 12. And it is a 34.6 for Max Verstappen. That's the second fastest sector time we have seen thus far. As there we go. That's more like it from Charles Leclerc, a 19.2, the fastest first sector from the Monegascan. As Hamilton follows him up with a pretty swift 19.3 in the first sector as well, as he is right behind him. So the Ferraris have a bit of clear track here, and they can utilise this, as Max does a very good lap time of a 13.2. But Hadjar goes even quicker than anyone else in the first sector, as he's done a 19.1. Carlos Sainz up into P2 with a 13.9. Antonelli only doing an outlap there as well. Let's keep an eye out on the two Ferraris, shall we? As we can see, Charles goes purple in the middle sector. We'll keep an eye on Hadjar as well, who's not far behind him, and Oscar Piastri. They're all kind of pretty close there in the first sector, as Hamilton does the fastest middle sector of anyone, a 34.2. That's a very, very good middle sector. He definitely seems to have good pace in that middle sector, as Leclerc does a 12.9. Our first time in qualifying, but he's sub 1:13 with a fastest last sector. Lewis Hamilton, though, he goes second fastest, unable to match his teammate in that last sector, and slots into P2. Oscar Piastri, where can he go? P2. Wow. Look at that last sector from Oscar Piastri, a 19.3. So 13.0 from him. Isaac Hadjar slots into P4. That's a good time from him as well, just ahead of his teammate. That is a very, very handy time there from Isaac Hadjar. But Lando Norris, fastest. Do not rule out Lando. Pole position here last year. Record holder for the fastest lap in F1 history round Monaco. He has just gone up there and maybe raised a few eyebrows. But we are still off 2 tenths off of the fastest time that we saw in Q... Well, I was about to say, yes, we were still a couple of tenths off of the fastest time we saw in FP3, because that belongs to Kimi Antonelli, who goes fastest with a 12.7. And, well, wouldn't that be something if Kimi Antonelli gets pole position here, while all the talk has been about Ferrari, all the predictions have been Ferrari locking out the front row, getting securing a P1 and P2. But it could go somewhere else, as Max Verstappen does a 19-second flat in the first sector. That's the first time we've seen 19 seconds flat from anyone this weekend, and Max Verstappen is putting his foot down. He's got some nice clean air ahead of him. We'll keep an eye on the times below, of course. Franco Colapinto in the drop zone. Albon, Lindblad, Gasly, Lawson, Hulkenberg just there in P10. Surely Hulkenberg isn't going to finish P11 again, right, in qualifying? Surely. In that Audi, he has been the best of the rest all weekend, and he will be looking to get into Q3. Lawson, green in the first sector. Lindblad, green. Albon, green in the first sector. Verstappen, only green in the second sector. He's lost a couple of attempts there on Norris and Hamilton in that middle sector. So the time is gained in the first. He is just lost in the middle sector. So could be going to the top of the timing screens here with a good last sector. And he just finished, it's just a little bit shy, even with a purple last sector, than that of Kimi Antonelli. So that middle sector costing Verstappen right now with that time loss. Maybe just a different use in battery usage or deployment. You never know with these things, as Norris goes green in the first sector with a 19.1. As Lawson moves himself up into P9 and moves Hulkenberg down into that dreaded 11th place. But he is going green in the middle sector. He's yellow in the first, Hulkenberg. He's about a 10th down in the first sector. He's up in the second sector. So let's see what the German can do. George Russell improving as well. Carlos Sainz is yet to start another lap. Gasly not on a push lap either, as Hulkenberg does move himself up into P10, but only by 0.03 of a second over Carlos Sainz, with Alex Albon and Sainz still yet to do another push lap here with 7 minutes remaining of Q2. So it's currently Colapinto, Lindblad, Gasly, Albon, and Sainz in the drop zone with Bortoleto already confirmed as Nando comes across the line here and does do a green first and last sector, but his middle sector was not particularly great. He was 2 tenths down on his middle sector that time around. So Verstappen's in the pits. Antonelli goes even quicker in the middle sector. Slow down, Antonelli. Slow down, my boy. You are safe. You are safe, but he's still pushing nonetheless. The 19-year-old Italian, the youngest Italian. He's the youngest driver ever to lead the Drivers' World Championship, and he's looking for his fifth race win in a row. And well, he goes green in the last sector with a 12.7 second lap overall. Wow, Antonelli trying to lay down a market here and continue to extend his championship leaders. George Russell definitely doesn't seem to be at the races. Oh no, turn 9 incident. Nico Hulkenberg failing to follow race director's instructions. Hopefully that is not going to cause him to be demoted here. But Hulkenberg currently in P10. We have all those pretty much in the drop zone in the pit lane. Colapinto out there, as is Pierre Gasly. Colapinto's on a brand new set, as is Pierre Gasly. As Charles Leclerc moves up just behind Kimi Antonelli there, 0.07 of a second separating him and the Mercedes driver. But we'll keep an eye out on Gasly and Colapinto, who are currently in the drop zone. They're on brand new softs, as is Liam Lawson as well. We have Piastri on a brand new set, as well as Lewis Hamilton on a brand new set. So a few drivers going out there to do get some laps in here. Kimi is fast as F. He is indeed. He's very, very fast. And he is proving it. So, yeah, looking for his 5th race win in a row. He'll be the first driver. He's already the first driver in history to win his first 4 races in F1 history in a row. And, well, he is looking to match already Lewis Hamilton's record of his most race wins in a row. Lewis Hamilton won no more than 5 races in a row in his time in Mercedes or throughout his career. Jeez, who was that? Was that George Russell? George Russell, wow. So George Russell, the hand into that Mercedes, he's not looking good. He's attacking the curb into the entry of turn 13, and he's very lucky that he's able to catch the car where he is at the moment. So Gasly and Colapinto on a second outlap, it seems, as is customary here. Oh, noted Albon and Lindblad for a pit lane incident. So not sure if there's been damage picked up by Lindblad or Alex Albon there for a pit lane incident, but that's been noted by the stewards. A second Williams driver to be noted for a pit lane incident after Sainz has already been cleared for a unsafe pit release. But yes, as is customary here, as we've seen this weekend, a second outlap is required to get these tyres up to temperature at Monaco. Of course, not many ample opportunities here to build temperature into the tyres, even with a track temperature that is 33.8, by the way. It's dramatically cooled at the start of this session. It was around 46 degrees, so the track temp is cooling somewhat from when we first started this session. So let's keep an eye on the 2 Alpines, shall we, as they are out there and fighting to get into Q3. Can they do it? They don't look like they've really got the pace to, but how often have we seen Gasly get into Q3 when really he shouldn't be? And Colapinto is on a great run of form as well, looking for his 3rd successive Q3 performance. No, 4th successive Q3 qualification, I believe, or maybe it's even his 5th, I can't remember, but he's definitely been starting in the top 10, hasn't he, the last few race weekends on a good bit of form, and he's got green in that first sector, but he is down on his teammates' pace. At the moment, they're looking for an improvement of 4 tenths of a second as Liam Lawson is in P9 with Nico Hulkenberg in P10. They're separated by just a few hundredths of a second. So Colapinto making his way through the swimming pool section through turn 15 and 16, where we've seen many drivers crash. Isaac Hadjar most notably this weekend as he heads into Raskas. Round the last corner will be Franco Colapinto. He's green in the middle sector as well, but down on his teammates' time. So Colapinto's going to improve here, but by how much as he comes across the line? And it's only P12 for Franco Colapinto. He does have time to go again, though, as Gasly does move himself up out of the drop zone and into P9 with a 13.7. Great lap from Pierre Gasly. Will it be enough? Will it be enough as Liam Lawson has gone green in the first sector? Nico Hulkenberg is on an out lap as well, so he'll be looking to start a lap here with 2 minutes remaining of this session. So they are at risk at the moment. It's Lindblad, Albon, Colapinto, Sainz and Hulkenberg who will be dropping out of Q2 and not making it into Q3. Surely Hulkenberg isn't going to finish qualify 11th again, is he? Surely not. All eyes on Liam Lawson and Nico Hulkenberg, as Lawson sets a very, very good lap time in the middle sector. So Lawson here just needs to navigate his way around the last couple of corners here, and he should improve and secure himself a Q3 qualification for himself as he comes across the line. And he does indeed, you do presume, with a 13.4. That is 2.5 tenths quicker than Pierre Gasly, who's in P10, and that's 3 tenths quicker than Nico Hulkenberg, who is currently on the lap and has gone yellow in the first sector. Max Verstappen is the first driver to go sub 19 seconds in the first sector. He couldn't, could he? He couldn't stick it on pole position today. Of course, it is just Q2, Q3 still to come, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already, guys. But Liam Lawson's just improved in the first sector again. Calm down, Liam. But Nico Hulkenberg isn't improving. He's not improving. And, well, is he going to go again? Does he have enough time to do another lap? We will see. Carlos Sainz improves with a very good first sector as well in 19.3, as does his teammate Alex Albon. Could the two Williams push Lawson and Gasly out here? And could we get a double Q3 qualification for the Williams team as Antonelli goes fastest in the middle sector of 34.1. A tremendous middle sector for him, and he doesn't improve there, though, because he had a slower last sector. But Max Verstappen improves overall and does a 12.499, 2 tenths quicker than Antonelli. That's putting down a marker, but we're going to move further down because it's all about those who are in the drop zone fighting to get out of Q2 into Q3. Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon have gone green in the first. They're green in the sector, the pair of them. Colapinto's green, as is Arvid Lindblad, and Sainz can only move 11th. Nico Hulkenberg, unfortunately, will not be in Q3. Albon moves 11th as well, just shy of Pierre Gasly. Look at that, 200ths of a second, less than 200ths of a second separate Gasly, as Hadjar pumps in a time that puts him P3 in Q2. Only a few 200ths of a second behind Kimi Antonelli. Wow. What a lap from him. And it does seem, as Colapinto comes across the line with a slow middle sector and a green last sector, Arvid Lindblad is the only driver out there still on a lap as Hamilton goes P6, and Lindblad will come across the line, and undoubtedly he will be out here. So we have lost Gabriel Bortoleto after his crash in Q1. He did not participate in Q2. He's in 16th. Arvid Lindblad in 15th. Colapinto 14th. Hulkenberg, a real shame for Audi. Top 10 for the pair of them in every single practice session. And Bortoleto will start 16th tomorrow, and Hulkenberg will start 13th. Really, really poor, really, for the Audi team. Carlos Sainz in P12 and Alex Albon in P11. Close for the pair of them. Didn't really look like they had the pace to get into Q3 anyway, so still a good qualification for them. They'll be fighting for points tomorrow. But Gasly, when it matters, as he so often does, forget the amount of times I have said that Gasly is in a struggling Alpine, or that Alpine doesn't look like it's going to get into Q3. And then, lo and behold, Gasly sticks it in Q3. He's in P10. And Liam Lawson comfortably through to Q3. 9 and a bit tenths back, well, nearly a whole second back from Max Verstappen's time there of a 1:12.499. Basically a 1:12.5, but for Liam Lawson, he was 3 tenths, comfortably 3 tenths better than Pierre Gasly, who is in P10. So there we go. Interesting. So watching Alex Albon, and I think he had a moment as he came. Oh, Alex Albon, I think, hit the barrier quite aggressively. He's very. Oh, wow. Yeah, Alex Albon aggressively hit the barrier into turn 15, and actually he's quite lucky he didn't break his front right suspension, but that definitely cost him a heap of time. So Alex Albon, and you're looking at that with only 200ths of a second separating him and Pierre Gasly. That hit there from Albon into turn 15 has really cost him getting into Q3. Interesting. Well, there we go. So who is going to get pole position? I think it's a lot more up for grabs than I first thought. I still think Ferrari when it matters, but that is a good lap time from Verstappen. A very good lap time from Verstappen. Hadjar, a great lap time as well. Antonelli mixing it up there, of course. George Russell looks all at sea. All at sea, George Russell, right now. Not sure what's happening with him, but George Russell looks like he's just got no comfort, no confidence in that Mercedes compared to his teammate. Red Bull to lock out the front row. Well, never say never. Never say never. And of course, look, those lap times were done on brand new sets of tyres as well. So that's something to take into consideration. But no one has really been looking too much at Red Bull. I think there's obviously, Max has been P3, hasn't he, in FP1 and FP2. But, yeah, definitely an opportunity here for a lot of the drivers to upset the apple cart of the Mercedes dominance. Or could Antonelli continue that dominance and qualify pole position, good positions ahead, a good handful of positions ahead of his teammate, who currently can't seem to get into the top 5. And, yeah. How long's the break? Only normally about 5 minutes, I think. Normally is the break. So, yep, session will start in 4 minutes' time. That's what we've got at the moment. The session will start in 4 minutes' time, guys. So thank you for tuning in. As always, hit the like button if you haven't already. Pressure is high. Someone is going to make a mistake next round. Well, we will see. We will see. Not long to go. The most important qualifying session of the year is upon us. Q3 at Monaco. One of the most exciting qualifying sessions because, as we know, no one has won this race from outside of the top 4 since 1996. You have to go back over a decade, well over a decade, since someone won this race. I think outside the top 3, I think it is. I think it's outside the top 3. But basically, the top 4 always win this race. That is the nature of Monaco. We'll see what the race has in store for us tomorrow, of course, with the overtake mode available. I do think that will have an effect tomorrow, and it'll be a lot more effective than what we've seen with DRS in the past, as Lindblad has been noted for impeding. Oh dear, Lindblad's race could get... Oh no, Lindblad, we did say at the start of this session of qualifying that if you receive a penalty for impeding and that results in a grid place penalty, that is a death sentence here at Monaco. As what did Arvid Lindblad do here? So Arvid Lindblad... What did Arvid Lindblad do? So Arvid Lindblad, the mechanics were... I don't see how that's Arvid Lindblad's fault there. The mechanics of the Williams team were just like right in the way, and he had to wait. So I'm not entirely sure why Arvid Lindblad will be penalised for that. Hopefully not. But here we go. I will be watching the World Cup. Yes, I will be watching the World Cup. I'm looking forward to that. Right. Hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't, guys. Oh, just over 81,000 subscribers now. Thank you very much. If you continue to hit that subscribe button, over 5,000 of you in here. Thank you. Thank you. Of course, we'll be back live tomorrow for the race, which will be at 2 p.m. UK time. And I'll be live an hour before that race starts to run through everything that we can expect for the race. Strategy options, weather, etc. Pit stop loss time, which is so important. So... they're analysing George Russell's lap time now, and looks like he's fighting the car somewhat, a lot more. A lot of kind of steering wheel corrections, lots of rear instability. Lots of rear instability on that Mercedes, it seems. So, yeah, George Russell not confident in that Mercedes at all. Sector times, yes, sector times, as we are not long away from Q3 getting underway here. You can see Max Verstappen with the only time that is sub 19 seconds in the first sector. Lewis Hamilton has a lot of improvement to make in that first sector. That is where he's losing a whole heap of time at the moment as Q3 is underway. So, yeah, very close across the board on the remaining sectors. But here we go. Q3 is underway here at Monaco, the most important qualifying session of the year. Who is going to qualify on pole? Will it be Ferrari, as everyone has predicted? Will it be Verstappen, that no one has expected? Or will it be Kimi Antonelli, continuing his dominance and looking to turn the knife into George Russell's championship hopes? Because George Russell, who is at all sorts here in qualifying, he looks like he's going to be struggling to qualify in the top 3, let alone on the front row. And Kimi Antonelli, if he can win this race, Are we live? Yeah, we're good. We're live. I had a reconnecting there for... I had reconnecting for my stream. I was like, oh, not now, please. Right. Here we go. So, there are 11 minutes remaining. Do I think Ferrari is going to make use of the front toe? No, they won't use the toe. It's not really beneficial around here, is it? So, let's keep an eye on Charles Leclerc. Is he going to go for a full push lap to start off with? Surely not. Surely it's warm up your tyres. There's plenty of space out there on this circuit. Lando Norris has done a 19.5 in the first sector, though, so maybe he's pushing somewhat. We'll see of Charles Leclerc's first sector time as well, as he makes his way down. So 19.7. No, so they're just doing a second out lap here, the teams, as we have seen throughout this qualifying session, and they have the time afforded to them to be able to do that. So drivers will be getting temperature into those tyres. I don't think anyone's going to go full push on the first attempt. And then we'll see who is going to get provisional pole. And, well, this is really when the pressure is on, of course. On the limit, these drivers, full push for them. Will we see a yellow flag? Will we see a mistake at all by these drivers? Some of the best in the world. Some of them who have won here in the past, who have started on pole position and have that experience. But whenever they come back here, it is always refreshing for them and always a challenge, of course. Did Limblad get a penalty? We will find out after the race, after qualifying, no doubts. Right, so let's keep an eye on Charles Leclerc, shall we? As I think he is the driver who will be conducting this lap time first. No, it's actually Oscar Piastri, as he does a 19 flat in the first sector. Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris does a 19.1. Charles Leclerc makes his way over the hill through Casino Square, and he is going to do in that first sector. Charles Leclerc does a 20.1. So has he just made a mistake there, Charles Leclerc? Or is this a second out lap for Charles Leclerc? Interesting. I think Charles has actually just had to bail out of that lap. Not entirely sure what occurred for him. We'll keep an eye on Lewis Hamilton as well. But Oscar Piastri makes his way through the Nivelle chicane. And his middle sector time is a 34.2. That's the second fastest sector time we have seen today in qualifying from the Australian. No one's been thinking about Oscar Piastri, but at the moment he is comfortably quicker than his teammate, his world champion teammate, his winner and pole position sitter here last year with the fastest time ever in Monaco. Oscar Piastri does a time of a 12.9. Probably not quick enough for Oscar Piastri. That last sector has just let him down because, wowee, Lando Norris puts in a 19.3 and goes a tenth and a half quicker than Oscar. So not sure what happened with Oscar in that last sector, but he's lost a whole heap of time. As Kimi Antonelli does an 18.941 in the first sector. But Lewis Hamilton does the fastest middle sector time we have seen today thus far. But that first sector time has been taken away by Max Verstappen on Kimi Antonelli. One more corner for Lewis Hamilton to navigate here in his Scuderia Ferrari. What can he do? Can he get provisional pole? He can, with a 12.553. A brilliant last sector from him. But will it be enough? As Antonelli is out on track, he is about neck and neck with Lewis Hamilton, or slightly ahead of Lewis Hamilton, it seems, in the overall lap, looking at that first sector time. But all eyes on Max Verstappen as George Russell finally puts in a half-decent lap time and moves up into P3. But Antonelli goes pole position, a 12.3 from the Italian, and a black and white flag for Lewis Hamilton for failing to follow race director's instructions. But we'll keep an eye on Max Verstappen. He's lost a bit of time in the middle sector. Can he recover it in the last as Gasly moves up into P7 and Leclerc is in the pits? And Verstappen goes P2 by 1/1000th of a second to Kimi Antonelli, the smallest of margins. Wowee! Isaac Hadjar up into P6. And that is your first attempts here. Charles Leclerc with a non-attempt, with a bailout of his push lap, is P10. 4.2 seconds off of Kimi Antonelli's time. But Kimi Antonelli is 1/1000th of a second quicker than Max Verstappen on pole position. All of the talk, of course, heading into this weekend was Mercedes. They're not going to be the quickest. Ferrari, they're the quickest in the corners. Their advantage has been nullified. And, well, Antonelli, the youngest ever championship leader. And, well, he's looking to extend his championship lead by currently putting his Mercedes on provisional pole by 1/1000th of a second over Max Verstappen. Wow, what a lap from both of those drivers. Lewis Hamilton not quite there in that first sector compared to Verstappen and Antonelli. That's really where the time loss is at the moment for Lewis Hamilton and to Verstappen and Antonelli. As I'm watching Charles Leclerc, what happened with Charles on his lap? Why did he bail out? And Charles, he had a snap of oversteer over turn 3. Very, very uncharacteristic of that Ferrari and Charles, and that's why he had to bail out there. Just lost that grip. But looking at the sector times, you can see here that Verstappen and Antonelli quickest by quite some margin in that first sector. Lewis Hamilton with his fastest first sector of all today, a 19.150. If he's able to overcome Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc overcome that first sector time deficit, they have a potential of pole position, because that second and last sector time is not too shabby. He loses a 10th in the last sector as well, Lewis Hamilton there. So it could have been a lot closer, but very, very close between all of them. And we still have another attempt here. Arvid Imblad, no further investigation for impeding. So Arvid Imblad, no penalty for him. That's good. That's good to hear. So still a tall order for him, starting 15th tomorrow to score any points. But yes, you don't want to start any lower than necessary. So Charles Leclerc is the sole driver out there, because he failed to put an attempt in because of that snap oversteer that he had through turn 3. Uncharacteristic of Charles and that Ferrari, and that is why he is now out there to do a couple of important outlaps here and get a push lap in. Can he stick it on pole position? We will see. The Ferraris, all hope on the Ferraris. They've given us hope all weekend. Surely they're not going to falter now at the final hurdle, are they? Surely. I say the final hurdle because qualifying really is the final hurdle when it comes to Monaco. As we mentioned, if you are not at minimum on the second row, your chances of winning this race are basically nil point, because no one has won this race from outside the top 4 since 1996, 30 years ago. So yes, if you want any hope of especially finishing on the podium at least, you really need to be starting on the second row at the minimum. So is Charles Leclerc going on a full push here, or is he going to do a second outlap? We will see Charles Leclerc as he makes his way up through the section where he had that wobble earlier on. Surely he hasn't got enough temp in those tyres to go right now, has he? Or maybe he will have to go and for a full push lap here if he's going to have an opportunity to get in and do a second lap, as he's done a 19.2. So Charles is on full push here, by the way, very early. Only one outlap for Charles Leclerc, and he needs to, because otherwise he is not going to have an attempt at one final lap, you will presume. He is out of sync here due to what happened earlier on in his first attempt in Q3. So we'll keep an eye on Charles. He makes his way through the tunnel, downhill into the braking zone of the Nivelle chicane. Needs to be careful to not hit that front left on that inside barrier, which we saw Gabriel Bortoletto do earlier, and break his front suspension as Leclerc now throws that Ferrari left-hander into the swimming pool section, a 34.9 in the middle sector. And no, he's down. He's massively down. He's undoubtedly going to have to bail out of this lap, and this will be the attempt, because that is a significant decrease in pace there in that middle sector, because you're looking at a low 34, not a high 34 if you're Charles Leclerc. Pierre Gasly so Liam Lawson unfortunately does not have another brand new set of softs available. He is out there on a U set. That might not be too detrimental to him, to be fair. We have seen drivers go quicker on the second push lap on a U set of tyres. Sometimes a bit easier to get temperature into those tyres. So Charles Leclerc, surely this is his push lap now, right? Surely, as Kimi Antonelli moves out of the way for the Monegascan, and it is a 19 flat for Charles Leclerc in the middle sector. Not as quick as Verstappen and Antonelli's 18.9, middle 18.9, but that's a very quick first sector for Charles Leclerc. 19 flat is not too shabby whatsoever. As he is making his way out of turn 8, through the tunnel he goes. Full throttle for Charles Leclerc, up to 280 kilometres an hour, pushing 290 into the Nivelle chicane under braking here. Charles Leclerc, what can he do? All pressure on him as Verstappen and Hamilton are having a few games there as they make their way through turn 3. As it's purple in the middle sector for Charles Leclerc. It's a 34.0 for Charles Leclerc. It's all about hooking up the last couple of corners here into Rasgas for Charles Leclerc. He grew up on these streets, and there's no one who knows these corners better than him. As he comes across the line, where does he go? It's provisional pole for Charles Leclerc. A 12.351. 2.5 hundredths of a second, or 200 thousandths of a second quicker than Kimi Antonelli there. Wow, what can Kimi do? What can Verstappen do? What can Hamilton do? But when it mattered, Charles Leclerc has given himself an opportunity to start at minimum on the front row tomorrow. He's out of sync. Will he have another opportunity? He may just be able to go one more time. Hamilton and Verstappen, they are on a lap. They're not going to have another opportunity at another outlap, I believe. Or maybe they will have another outlap. But that was a great lap from Charles Leclerc. Pierre Gasly gone green in the first sector. Liam Lawson's gone green in the first sector as well. They're fighting really for that last ninth place there with Piastri and everyone else so far ahead. But Lando Norris, on to Lando Norris. He's done a 19 flat in the first sector as well. Lando Norris, our pole position and winner of last year. Lando Norris, of course, defending drivers champion. As Antonelli is looking to start his time. As Verstappen does an 18.8 in the first sector. He's gone mega quick in that first sector. As Hamilton only does a 19.1. And that is 3 tenths down. Hamilton on Max Verstappen's first sector alone. Something that Britain has struggled to hook up this weekend. As Antonelli looks to start his lap now. What can Kimi Antonelli do? Will he start on the front row? Well, if Max Verstappen has anything to say about it, no. Because Max makes his way through the Nivelle chicane. Oscar Piastri coming across the line and moves into P5. So Piastri, only P5 for the Australian. Lando Norris, as Lando Norris bows out. Lando Norris bows out of his lap. No good for him. Verstappen improves in the middle sector at 34.1. But Lewis goes sub 34 in the middle sector. What is happening here? Purple sectors being traded left, right and centre. None of them belong to Kimi as of yet. As Verstappen comes across the line and goes pole at 1:12.0. Wowee. 2.5 tenths quicker than Charles Leclerc. What can Lewis do? It's P2 for now for Lewis Hamilton. Max pole. Lewis second. All eyes on Kimi Antonelli. Isaac Hadjar moves up into P5. Charles Leclerc is on a push lap as well. He's gone sub 19 seconds in the first sector. Do not rule out Charles. Russell will only start 6th. But Kimi is green in the first. He's green in the second. Kimi barring a good last gas corner here. Full throttle to the line. Kimi Antonelli as Charles Leclerc has hit the barrier as Antonelli goes pole. Oh my goodness. Kimi Antonelli, the current championship leader, a 12.051. Max Verstappen a 12.094. And we have Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen on the front row. 0.04 of a second separating Kimi Antonelli to Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton, the Ferraris, when we thought they were the ones to be careful of and keep an eye on for this weekend, Kimi Antonelli is on the front row, on pole position. Hamilton P3, Charles Leclerc P4, Hadjar P5, a good lap from him. George Russell is 5 places down on his teammate. And Kimi Antonelli has just put one hand, you do suspect, as Charles Leclerc was going very slow. Yes, Charles Leclerc has hit the barrier. Charles Leclerc has broken his suspension. Oh, the rear stepped out on Charles Leclerc on the entry to turn 12. And, well, he had a tank swapper there, and his rear went straight into the barrier. He's broken his right rear suspension, and he's out there. So, Charles Leclerc on the full push at the end of that Q3 session, broke his right rear suspension. And, well, the rear of that Ferrari, don't know what happened there. But Kimi Antonelli, pole position for tomorrow. Kimi Antonelli, P1. Max Verstappen, P2. Lewis Hamilton starts P3. Charles Leclerc, P4. Isaac Hadjar, P5. George Russell, P6. Piastri, P7. Lando Norris, P8. Look at that. The two McLarens, over half a second and 7 tenths away. Norris, not quite sure what happened with his error in Sector 2. He did do a very good first sector. Pierre Gasly pips Liam Lawson there for P9. Liam Lawson P10. We have Alex Albon in P11 with Sainz P12. Hulkenberg thought he'd finally get that Q3 performance, but no, he qualified P13. Colapinto 14th. Lindblad 15th. Bortoletto, after bringing out the red flag and breaking his front left suspension, is in P16. Ocon is 17th. Perez 18th. Behrman 19th. Bottas 20th. Alonso 21st. And Stroll 22nd. There we go. That is the end of qualifying. Who thought? I won't lie. I didn't think Kimi would be on pole position today. I really didn't. I thought Yes, he had a good lap time in FP3, but I suspected Ferrari were going to be comfortable here, to be honest. And look at them. That just shows the confidence that Kimi has. And also, it's very ominous for the rest of the season. Very ominous, isn't it, for the rest of the season? Because that Mercedes, at a track where you thought their strength has been nullified. And to some degree it has, with the whole battery usage and the power unit. But wow. To qualify on pole there. Oh. Watching history. We are watching history right now. Yeah, we are watching history. If he wins tomorrow, that matches Lewis Hamilton's all-time record of, or his personal record, not all-time record, but it matches Lewis Hamilton's personal record of 5 race wins in a row. And that'll be his first ever 5 race wins as well. He is on an absolute charge at the moment, and George doesn't have an answer to him. That's the thing. But Ferrari, what has happened to Ferrari? Did they make setup changes? Did they change something overnight from Friday to today? Is it the case that the other teams caught up to Ferrari more so than Ferrari have dropped back? But yeah, definitely something has occurred there. Charles Leclerc definitely, of course, like the Ferrari for some reason, which it hasn't looked all weekend. A lot more snappier on the rear. Not quite sure what's happened there. And Charles, of course, pushing on the limit on a set of used tyres, on a second push lap, of course, on that set of tyres. Broke his right rear suspension into turn 12. So happy for Lewis Hamilton. Consistency seems to be happening slowly. Yeah, I mean, the positives for Ferrari and overall, of course, if Charles Leclerc, you're disappointed. If you're Charles Leclerc and you're Charles Leclerc fans, you're massively disappointed because of this is his track. This is his specialty. And you expect him to get pole position, especially with how good the Ferrari has been here throughout this weekend. But if you're a Lewis Hamilton fan, I think some of you I think you're a bit disappointed, of course, that he's not on the front row at least. But consistency again, another top 3 qualification, another out qualifying Charles Leclerc at his home race as well. And look, there's still a possibility that Antonelli has a slow start tomorrow, and Max Verstappen, and Hamilton and Leclerc have been having very good starts still. While everyone seems to, at least Canada was better starts for Mercedes and Verstappen, they still, there's no guarantee that they'll have a good start tomorrow. If things stay as they are, Kimi could be 65 points ahead of George by tomorrow. Is that the gap between P1 and P6? I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, George has got, what can he gain tomorrow? 1 place off the start? Really? Over Isaac Hadjar? He needs to hope. I mean, obviously you don't want to hope for drivers to have DNFs and crashes, but he kind of really needs to hope that his teammate doesn't finish the race tomorrow. And something goes wrong for him because, yeah, George, similarly, I don't know. Whatever is happening on Russell's side of the garage with setups, with, I don't know, parts or whatever, it's clearly not going the same on Kimi's side of the garage. Kimi clearly feels at one with that car, and George doesn't right now. Jarvis, thank you for the 5 gifted, by the way. Much appreciated. So, yeah, full of confidence, isn't he? Absolutely full of confidence. Don't rule out Hamilton win tomorrow because Hamilton knows how to manage this circuit. Yeah, but I mean, Kimi's, like, it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult of a circuit to manage, I think, really. It's not like you have to manage tyres. I mean, as I said, and I sound like a broken record, what's going to be intriguing tomorrow is the overtake mode. Is overtake mode going to be effective tomorrow, as it has been at every other circuit? I'm pinning a lot of hope on it. I'm trying to dial back my expectations. I still have very low expectations, but the overtake mode, could that be the difference tomorrow? And could that provide us with some actual potential overtakes? Also, Max Verstappen. This could be Max Verstappen's only opportunity of a race win this year. He's going full send into turn 1. He's going full send. Antonelli, already at this stage of the season, has a lot more to lose than Max. He cannot afford to not lose a race, but not finish a race, basically. So if anyone's backing out tomorrow, even though he's only 19 years old and he's very headstrong, it will be Antonelli to Verstappen. It won't be Verstappen. Hamilton, sorry, Kimi has got Bono on as his race engineer, yeah. Thank you, Steve. I much appreciate it. Yeah, guys, if you enjoyed the commentary and you enjoyed the live stream, hit the subscribe button, please, and hit that like button. We're nearly at 1,000 likes. Go on, you can do it. Hit that, get that to 1,000 likes if you can, please. It does help. Yeah, love providing these to you all, as always. And we will be back tomorrow, of course, for the race, where it's going to be an interesting one. So, yeah, but Max Verstappen put it in a time when it matters. Let's have a look at the sector time, shall we? Because this is interesting, and it shows where the time loss was, particularly for Lewis Hamilton. And if Lewis Hamilton could have overcome, really, the first sector deficit that he had, his fastest first sector was a 19.1. Max Verstappen and Kimi Antonelli, even his teammate, but particularly Max Verstappen and Kimi Antonelli, 18.9. A low 18.9 for Antonelli. That's 2 tenths there, pretty much, between Hamilton. And then Verstappen, it was 3 tenths because Verstappen did a low 18.8. Of course, he regains that time in the middle sector. And then the last sector was not as good as Verstappen and Antonelli. So, not quite sure what was going on there for Lewis. Maybe the Ferrari just was losing a bit of pace in that first sector. But it does show that that's where really the deficit is. 2 tenths pretty is the gap, and he lost that all in the first sector. Which games I'll be commenting on from the World Cup? I won't be commentating on the World Cup, no, but I will be watching it. I'm actually, yeah, we're actually, me and the family, we're actually going on a nice break in between Barcelona and the next race after that, I think Austria. We're going on a nice break, so we'll be watching. I'll be watching the World Cup there. What if after what if? Exactly, of course it is. It is what if after what if. But that's where you look at the data and you analyse it. The race tomorrow, the race start, we know is going to be really interesting. This is where you want Ferrari. Of course, Ferrari wants to have the what we need tomorrow. If you're a Ferrari fan, I say we because I am a Lewis Hamilton fan. What we need is really for them to get rid of the race start procedure where you have that extra 5-second holding. I don't think that's necessary anymore, is it? Surely not. Now everyone's got on top of their race starts. What we need actually is the first race start. Whoever set the lights in the first race of Australia where they went on and off in an instant, that's what they need tomorrow. We need to ship in that person. Confidence is huge in any competitive situation. Kimi is overflowing with it. George is full of questions and doubt. Yeah, totally agree. Looking at George driving that car as well. If you looked at him, he was definitely... that car definitely looked a lot more loosey-goosey for him, and that just doesn't breed confidence, especially when you're trying to apply throttle at a racetrack where there is no room for error. Whereas Kimi didn't have any of that, which is really interesting. So I wonder if something's going wrong with his... I wonder if something's just going wrong with his setup choices at the moment, George. It's clearly... It's not the first time setup choice at Suzuka was not as good. And George is a bit of all sorts at the moment with the setup of the car, I think. Max is coming out of turn 1 first, or not at all. I mean, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. And it could be his only opportunity as well for a race win this year, Max Verstappen. So with that, he's going to go for it, isn't he? You always had the belief that when you have Verstappen in the car, you get at least 2 to 3 tenths more out of the car, and today he proves it once again. Well, yes and no. I don't think you can outperform the car, but yeah, definitely some drivers are better than others, 100%. And look, Verstappen there at a circuit, at a driver's circuit, at a circuit where the performance advantage isn't essential. He has nearly stuck it on pole position and made a difference. Will we see overtaking this year in Monaco? I have low expectations still. However, I do think that there's a possibility, a slim possibility, just a little one, that the overtake mode could be effective tomorrow. We've seen it be very effective at every race circuit thus far. Of course, Monaco is very unique. But the difference with overtake mode compared to DRS that we've had in previous years is that DRS was only in one zone, which was down the start-finish straight. Now, I still don't predict that many will make overtakes down into turn 1. But what I think could happen is that where we used to see one of the prime overtaking spots used to be, I say prime, like very loosely there at Monaco, was into the Nivelle chicane, which is turn 10, out of the tunnel. And I think with the overtake mode, with the additional boost that you can get, it's a possibility that it's effective enough that you can like have an overtake and ascend down into turn 10. So we will see. I still have low expectations. It will be our first time seeing the overtake mode here. We don't see it at any point throughout practice and through qualifying. That's our only hope. If it doesn't work, then I don't suspect we'll see really many overtaking, and it will be all on. The pit stops. And I hope that we don't get a red flag tomorrow. I think we're going to get some DNFs, as we have seen at least 2 every single race thus far. The lowest has been 2 at Suzuka. Every other race has had more than 2. And I just hope that they don't throw a red flag just instantly. It depends, obviously, where cars break down. If we get a red flag, it means that teams can make a pit stop and change their tyres, and they will just be able to go to the end of the race. I feel like there almost needs to be a rule here at Monaco that you can't change tyres under red flag, because otherwise, yeah, the only intrigue we kind of have at Monaco is the pit stop window. Kimi just needs to make top 4 finishes consistently to get the championship. Yeah, of course he does. But you also never know. If you're in Kimi's position as well, it's so early on in the season, you still don't know when potentially, like, you could still potentially have a mechanical failure. You've seen it on the other side of the garage. Your team is not immune to issues. So you need to just try and, obviously it sounds simple on paper, doesn't it? Just rack up as many points as you possibly can. Go for those race wins. Don't settle necessarily for second, third. Like, you want to try and rack up as many points and give yourself as much as a buffer as possible, because if you do have a poor run of luck and your teammate's able to capitalise, then you've been able to maximise your car and your results when the car has been in good condition. So, yeah, because that could potentially come back his way. It could swing back towards George's way, where George then dominates and has no issues, and Kimi's the one getting caught up. Like, Kimi at the moment is obviously riding a very massive high, but will this massive high last throughout the whole season? If sport tells us anything, it probably won't, and it's how he's going to be able to deal with those probably inevitable low moments that are going to come throughout this season. And look, the true test of a champion is not how good you perform on your good days, it's how well you perform on your bad days. And at the moment, George Russell is not, say not performing well. I mean, Canada, Suzuka, yes, harsh. China, maybe, did he finish second in China, didn't he? I think he did. So, obviously, George has had some bad luck. This has not been good for him, because he's clearly had a poor performance here in qualifying. So, yeah, there's still a very long way to go. But if Kimi wins tomorrow, 5 race wins in a row, pole position, like, just dunking points on his teammate at the moment. Very ominous. Overtaking attempts will happen. That's the question, isn't it? The overtaking attempts will happen, yes. How successful they'll be, we will see. I feel like Charles is the second unluckiest driver in F1 after Alonso. Do you? I don't think so. I don't think Charles has been unlucky. In what sense has Charles been unlucky? What, that he's driven for Ferrari and so forth? I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think some of the times Charles is has been the cause of his poor results. Nothing against George, but no chance this year. Hard to see how it could happen for him, short of a catastrophe for Kimi. Well, yeah, but many said the same thing for Oscar Piastri last year as well. And look what happened. So if you've watched F1 long enough, you'll know that never say never. Kimi's been looking so good. Can't see him losing it. Well, how many races do we have left to go? By the way, over 1,000 likes, much appreciated. Over 81,000 subscribers now as well. Thank you. We still have, round 6, and we have a total of, at the moment, 22 rounds. So we still have like 16 rounds to go with 3 more sprint races. That's a lot of racing. Kimi seems to start out this season similar to Oscar in last year with the wins. Yeah, there may be similar to Lando, where the development of the car at the moment suits Kimi, and as they develop that car, it may swing more towards George's liking as the season progresses. That's what happened, and Oscar Piastri like really struggled with that car, particularly as he started to head to tracks which he wasn't comfortable in. But I would say, I do think from what I've seen thus far from Kimi that he doesn't necessarily have the same level of weakness as Piastri does with the low grip surface tracks. We've already been to a couple, and Kimi does like that. We saw it in Miami in particular, and I don't think George has that kind of reliance on his teammate having that weakness. I think Kimi is already quite a very good, well-rounded driver in his driving style. So it's not like, okay, George can go to tracks that he's good at and dominate his teammate, which Norris did. We already saw that at Canada, where Kimi took it to George, and if it wasn't, who knows how that race would have unfolded, but took it to George and was in a position to capitalise and win that race when George retired from it. So that's what George doesn't really have. But yeah, just need to keep applying the pressure, and when the going does get tough for Kimi, which it may do, it may not, but I do think there will, with a season as long as this, there will be a point where he does go through a bit of a lull. You need to capitalise on that. Yeah, this is the results for qualifying if you're looking at right now. Still time for other teams and drivers to catch up. There is, but the thing is that let's say Ferrari catches up, right, or Red Bull catches up, or McLaren. They're already so many points behind. Are they going to catch up to Mercedes and overtake them and be the dominant team, or will they just catch up to them and then it's a case of them sharing race wins and sharing pole positions? Because that's the key factor here, is that if Antonelli wins tomorrow, that's every race, 6 races that Mercedes have won, 5 of them, of course, to Antonelli. And that is a tall order for teams to then overcome that advantage that they've already got when you've had Max Verstappen already have a DNF. You've had Lando Norris have 2 DNFs and Piastri not start a race, and Piastri obviously not start 2 races and stuff. So I think this is already Mercedes, to be honest with you. Maybe famous last words, but I think it's such an important advantage that they've gained at the start of this season in the constructors and in the drivers. But I think even if they catch up to them, Mercedes have already done enough at the start of this season to really secure themselves the championship this year. At least constructors, drivers, of course, who knows. But it's, Ferrari. Let's say Ferrari catch them up. But as I said, with the whole additional development time that they're going to get on their engine, it's not like they can bring the engine next week at Barcelona. It could be in 4 races' time. Well, that's halfway through this season, where Mercedes are then still the dominant package. So, yeah. Where they're just going to be able to continue to extend that advantage that they already have. 16 races remaining, which was a full season back in the 1980s. I know. I think Leclerc's tyres failed. He made 1 more than all other drivers. Was that the team's mistake? That was his mistake. So he only had enough time to go out there and do... He didn't do a first push lap, or he didn't get a first lap on the board, basically. On his first push lap, the rear stepped out on him as he went through turn 3. Did very well to control the car, but that was it. He had to get out there and do 2 laps, an attempt at 2 laps. And the only way to do that was to stay on the same set of tyres. So, yeah, the tyres maybe just didn't have enough when he was leaning on them. But that Ferrari definitely seemed a bit more squirrely than it looked all weekend. So, I don't know what has happened to that Ferrari, whether they made actual changes on the car from Friday to Saturday, or whether it was a case of the other teams have made gains on them. The run into 2-1 is too short for making positions at the start, in your opinion. It depends. It really depends, Mike, doesn't it? The only way there'll be position changes from, let's say, the second row to the first row will be if Antonelli or Verstappen bogged down. That's it. Lewis said they made very little changes and the car felt very different today. Really? Yeah, but how effective were those very little changes? Or maybe it's a case of just track conditions. Look, the track yesterday might have suited the Ferrari better than it did today. Sometimes that's a factor. But yeah, there's still a possibility that Antonelli bogs down at the start tomorrow, Verstappen, and Hamilton and Leclerc get good starts. I don't know. That is a possibility, but we'll see. Go home. By the way, thank you for the $4.99. I completely missed your donation. Kimmy seems to start out this season similar to Oscar in last year with the wins. Actually, I did read that, didn't I? I did read that comment, but I didn't read it as saying thank you for the $4.99. So thank you, buddy. You can't say that if last year's McLaren strategy of 2 push laps worked. Yeah, no, I don't think. I think it was more so the Ferrari. I think the tyres, of course, are always going to be more on the limit on a second push lap because they don't have the same level of grip as they do on the first push lap. But I do think that Ferrari of Charles was a lot more squirrely than we expected it to be, and Charles evidently expected it to be. Ferrari's always shooting themselves in the foot, have a good setup and change something overnight and mess up with the car. Yeah, look, I don't know how influential those setup changes were. As I said, it could be a factor of that teams also made improvements overnight. I mean, Mercedes definitely made improvements, right? Because they didn't look good on Friday. And they've clearly gone and assessed the data and made some changes. And now Kimi was able to find some confidence in that car. Because you look at Friday and you're like, nah, they're not. This is as everyone expected. The advantage they've got in every other race is not here. And Kimi's just gone, boink, pole position. I'm still here. Feel bad for George. Now that's not something I expected to say at the start of the season. I think here is purely just his performance. I'd be interested to hear his interview, but I don't think there's anything. I don't think you can blame him. I don't think you can blame the car necessarily or any misfortune on George. Clearly, whatever he's done to the car has not put it in a good window for him, the setup or whatever, and he's struggled to find confidence all weekend in that car. I don't know if that's due to just, the setup as it is, whether the car as a whole is just not to his liking at the moment. As I'm actually hearing George Russell right now. So let's see what George Russell has to say about his gap. Do I think Max can win tomorrow? Yeah, definitely. Starting on the front row. Full send for Max tomorrow. Just listen to George now. The power still matters uphill. Of course it does, yeah. George not really sure what is wrong with your car at the moment. Just saying he's struggling with it. It's a real fight to get a lap out of it. Says if I knew what was wrong, obviously we would sort it out. Seems a bit lost, to be fair. He can't quite pinpoint what the issues are with the car and why he's not feeling as good with it. Interesting. Why didn't Mercedes choose Lewis over George Russell? Because it was the natural progression to move George Russell into being the lead driver. With Lewis Hamilton moving on. So, yeah, it made sense. One's kind of in the peak-ish of their career. George Russell approaching that peak, whereas Lewis Hamilton was coming to the end of his career. So it made sense to keep George, who has worked alongside, has that experience, and then bring Kimi Antonelli, who is the rookie. So and Mert don't want 2 lead drivers. It's a shame, though, he's absolutely World Driver Championship material, but just as he gets the car and seemingly in the mentality last season, he's got on a new team, a new Wonder Kid Prodigy teammate. Yeah, but look, that's the nature of F1. There's always the possibility that when you're in a top team, that the person you line up against is going to be as good as you, possibly better. Whether they're young, old, same age as you, you're in a top team for a reason. So it's about overcoming that, and there's still a very long way to go in the season. But George, interesting comments there from George. He doesn't really know why the car is not comfortable with the car at the moment, and they've got to sit down and analyze it and see if they can figure it out. George gave a real Toto told me to tell you answer. Yeah, probably. I would suspect he probably does know. But... Right. Is this as good as it will ever get for George Russell, I wonder? I think it depends on Max Verstappen. Look, even if he didn't win the championship this year, it depends on Max, whether Max wants to go to Mercedes or not. He could have another opportunity at a World Championship, but there's no guarantee that Mercedes are going to be the fastest car, even come the end of the year. We saw last time around that McLaren were able to catch up to Red Bull. You expect Ferrari to make improvements as the regs progress. You expect Red Bull to make improvements, and McLaren too. So while Mercedes are dominant right now, there's no guarantee that they're going to be dominant even come the end of this year, let alone at the start of next year. But there we go, guys. So I hope you have enjoyed that qualifying watch along. We will be back tomorrow for the race, of course, an hour before the race begins. I think that's 1 p.m. UK time. So just have a look at your time zones. If you want to ensure that you do not miss me going live, hit that notification button, that bell button, because you will be notified half an hour before the stream goes live. So you can get your affairs in order and get ready for the wash along. So yeah, we'll have a look at all the strategy options and what is potentially ahead of us for the Monaco race. Of course, that dash turn 1 is going to be really important, and hopefully we don't see any red flags tomorrow and it is a green flag to the end. Even if we see safety cars, that's okay, but no red flags, because the pit stops is what makes it interesting at Monaco. And maybe there's an outside chance of some overtakes with that overtake mode. Hopefully it is effective, just like we've seen elsewhere. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for all the new subs and follows and likes. Over 1,000 likes. You can follow me also on Spotify now as well. I am uploading these watch-alongs back onto Spotify. Preview videos. I didn't get to do a preview video for this week, but driver ratings and so forth, I'm also doing that on Spotify and setting myself up on Apple as well. So you can listen to me there on the go if YouTube isn't your thing. But yeah, thank you as always, guys. Have a lovely rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow for the Monaco Grand Prix. Thanks, guys. Bye.